Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. Today's episode, I am going to teach you how to talk to yourself more kindly, more compassionately, and more openly, creating a healthy dialogue between you, your mind, and your body. It is very normal to wake up some days and like what you see in the mirror, and other days love what you see in the mirror, and other days hate what you see in the mirror. And depending on where you're at in your journey, when you're whether you're trying to change it, whether you're working on accepting it where it is, or maybe you're doing both, you are going to have bad body image days. Okay, a bad body image day is basically a day where you just immediately are disgusted by what you see. You get frustrated getting dressed. You allow it to dictate what you eat or what you do throughout the day. Maybe you do a harder workout, or maybe you don't work out at all. Either way, you felt bad about yourself and you allowed that to dictate, whether you have carbs with your meal or whether you don't have carbs with your meal, whether you decide to do a crash diet or whether you decide to say, screw it, I'm never going to get to the weight I want to be anyway. Like, whatever it is, the way that you talk to yourself matters. And I need you to know that sometimes looking in the mirror and not liking what you see is normal and is okay. Okay? What we don't want to be okay and something that you kind of just live with is responding to it in the way that we just talked about. So that's a problem, right? So if you look at yourself in the mirror and you allow your image of yourself to now dictate the workout you do, the nutrition program that you follow, that's a problem, right? Because our view of ourselves changes day to day. It's very normal for you one day to like what you see and the other day not to. So we can't be changing things every single time we don't like what we see, because we're never going to have stability and we're going to stay in chaos. And that's the reason why you're dieting in the first place, and you're just going to stay stuck to diets. So if you really want to be free from food and free from poor body image that really holds you back, we need to make sure that you're talking to yourself in a way that shows kindness and compassion. And I'm going to teach you how to do that with these, I think I have 5 things that you can do to get through a bad body image day, because it's going to happen. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is acknowledge it as a moment. Okay, our thoughts come and go, and there can be one day that you like your body, one day that you don't. So just know that this is a moment, right? A moment in time. And acknowledge it as that, and understand that our views and our thoughts come and go. And that means you don't have to take any extreme measures to quote unquote fix it, because who knows, tomorrow you might love what it looks like. And either way, it's going to only hurt you if you continue to, every time you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, if you feel like you need to do something extreme to fix it and to change it, okay? We need to accept ourselves of where we're at. And so when we have that bad body image day, or that bad moment when we see ourselves in the mirror, we just have to accept it as like, okay, this is a moment. This is going to pass. Like, let me just keep moving forward. Maybe that day, maybe the thing that you do change is maybe you were going to wear jeans that day. And maybe, you're like, these jeans, they don't really fit me that great, especially when I'm bloated, so I'm going to put on leggings. I feel better in my leggings. I feel more comfortable in my leggings. Or, I'm going to wear the jeans. They might be a bigger size, but they fit me and I wear them with confidence. Nobody knows the size of your pants, guys. Nobody knows it other than you. So whether you need to change, so the point of that is acknowledge it as a moment and then choose to wear clothes that fit you, that you feel most confident in. Okay. The second thing we need to do this is the important one, is ask yourself, what's actually bothering me? Okay. So when clients say to me, I feel heavy, right? I feel heavy today. They might be referring to, their physical weight. They might be referring to that. But the real question is, what's going on in your life that's weighing you down? So ask yourself, what's actually bothering me? What's weighing me down? Am I overextending myself? Am I super stressed to the max, right? Because when we're stressed out and we're fatigued and, we're kind of burning the candle at all ends, we don't see things in a positive way. And because we like to be able to put things, it could just be like, I'm sad today. Like, it actually doesn't necessarily need to be a thing, but we as humans like to understand, like to know the reason why, and we want to fix it. We want to be able to do something about it, right? So although it might be something like, emotionally, I'm not like 100% well right now, we like to be able to physically see it. So we blame it on our body. But I promise you that it is not your body that's bringing you down. It's definitely something else going on in your life that's weighing you down, and it's distorting your view of reality. So that's the deeper question. All right, the other thing that I recommend if you're having a bad body image day is to consider taking a break from social media. Maybe you saw something on social media that triggered you, so definitely unfollow accounts that show before and after pictures. And I'm going to provide another podcast episode about why I think those accounts that show before and after photos are more damaging than they are motivating and inspiring, which is why some people start following them in the first place. I actually think they do more harm than good. And so I'm going to talk about that in the future. But for right now, if you're looking at somebody's body and it's smaller than you or it's more defined than you and it's making you feel bad, and now you go down this rabbit hole of like, oh, well, they're working out 2 times a day, so I should work out 2 times a day, or they're eating super clean, so I should eat super clean. That's very damaging because once again, it's putting you into this action mode of extreme behavior, which is not going to help you in the long run. Also, comparing yourself to somebody else is never going to make you feel good, because even if you're comparing yourself, it's like, oh, well, at least I'm not that big. It's terrible, by the way. I just like felt like I wanted to vomit as that came out of my mouth. Like, that's just like, you're putting somebody down while lifting you up. That doesn't feel good. Okay. And then the reverse to that is looking at somebody who maybe has a smaller body than you, and that's the body that you're striving to achieve. And that's not going to feel good either because you're not there yet. Right. And so the other thing to consider when we're talking about, looking at social media and following certain accounts is they could be super toxic. They could be unrealistic. Those people can be doing and engaging in behaviors that actually aren't healthy for your long-term mental and physical health. But also you have to remember that social media is a giant highlight reel, right? Nobody's showing up on social and being like, well, totally binged, had the biggest binge of my life. I feel disgusting right now. Like, I'm so upset with myself that I did that. Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's showing that, right? They're only showing the parts that they're highlight reels. So be careful of who you follow. And it's okay to either take a break from social media or unfollow certain accounts that might be triggering you. All right. Number 4 is anytime you go into a negative place, I'm going to challenge you, whether it's about a bad body image day or you're just having a shitty day or you're just not having the best day or something's bothering you, always switch to a state of gratitude. So remember, we're first acknowledging, right? So you're going to acknowledge the thought before we switching to positive. So I will kind of back up a bit. We're in a really great, I love that we're in a more body positive movement, but I think you've heard me talk about before, and I've had people on my podcast talk about before, more of like body neutrality, and meaning that, this expectation of loving your body every day, that's really, really challenging. But instead, let's just be neutral with our body. I have a body and it does great things for me, right? So also in addition to that, it's like, we don't have to only be positive. Like, we can acknowledge the negative. We can acknowledge the things that it's not even positive or negative. It's just we have thoughts and they change day to day. And this is something I learned in therapy, by the way. So this is not something I probably would have taught 10 years ago or 5 years ago for that matter. So anyways, the 4th thing that I want you to do if you're having a bad body image day is the number 1 is acknowledge it, right? Then from there, switch to a state of gratitude. What is your body able to do for you? So what does it currently do for you? Maybe you're a parent and it carried your baby, right? And maybe you're a mom and it carried your baby. Do your arms, maybe you beat up your arms, but your arms allow you to hug your kids, right? Maybe you hate your legs, and that's like the part that you're like, oh, I like everything about my body except for my legs. Well, maybe your legs help you to run and you love to run. right? Or you're also too, guys, like other parts that are part of your body are your eyes and your ears and your nose and your mouth. And, like that's where you forget like the fact that, if you're listening to this, you're able to hear. That is a blessing. You do not have to worry about not being able to hear people or not being able to hear your children talk to you or not being able to hear your loved ones say, I love you. Like we take advantage of the things that our bodies are able to do. So you can hear, you can see. Hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're able to walk and to talk and to communicate, and that's all because your body is functioning for you. It is an able body, and there's plenty of things that it is doing well for you, right? So that's important to go to that state of gratitude. All right, lastly, all right, this is the work, guys. So a lot of this stuff is like mindset stuff, which is also work, but this is something you might want to be physically doing. So I want you to, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like what you see, I need you to remind yourself of the amazing person that you are. If you want to write it on your mirror, if you want to write it in your notes section on your phone, if you want to write it in your journal, I need you to list at least 5 things that you bring to the table that has nothing to do about your body. Okay? So for example, you might be a great leader, a great teammate, a great caretaker. Maybe you volunteer for your church or community efforts. Maybe you're a teacher, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a daughter, you're a son, you're a wife, you're a husband, you're a sister, you're a brother, you're a cousin, you're an amazing coworker, you're an amazing friend. Whatever it is, take a look in the mirror and remind yourself of the amazing person that you are. And if you really get down to the root of it, who you are has nothing to do with your body. Okay? It has nothing to do with your body. Who you are and the amazing person that you are, the things, your superpowers, the things that you bring to the table, it's because of who you are at your core, at your soul. It has nothing to do with about your body. And this is something, guys, I struggled with when I was younger. I used to think that it was like everything was not as great. So like I knew I was like a good student and I knew I was a good athlete, but I was just average. You know why? Because if I had been thinner, if I was skinnier, if I could lose this weight, then I'd be the best athlete. Then somehow my grades would matter more. Like I put my weight on my worth so much. And it literally has nothing to do with it. I just didn't even realize it then, but I was just holding myself back from really knowing my power and knowing my worth way early on, okay? So I challenge you. If you're having a bad body image day, I want you to do these 5 things, okay? So number 1, acknowledge it as a moment. Know that your thoughts come and go. 2, ask yourself, what's actually bothering me? What am I really stressed about? 3, maybe take a break from social media, unfollow certain accounts. And honestly, also maybe you don't take a break from social media and maybe you purposely follow certain accounts that are more maybe body neutral. Okay. Number 4, be grateful to have a body and identify what is your body able to do for you. And then lastly, take a look in that mirror. Remind yourself of the amazing person that you are. Maybe if you're driving right now, you can't look in the mirror, you can't write it down. Say it out loud. Okay? And do that every day if you can. Definitely on days that you have a bad body image, but every single day if you can. Any amount of positive self-talk, compassion, kindness. I didn't put this here, but the other thing I might add is if a friend was talking to you about their view of their body and how much they hated it or how much they wanted to change it and they were just like so down about it, how would you respond to them? Sometimes it's helpful for us to talk to ourselves in the way we would talk to a friend. And actually, I'm going to put another layer on that. Because maybe if you're caught up in diet culture and you're caught up in diet trends, you might tell your friend to do a fad diet because that's what, maybe you think is what you're supposed to do when you're down about your body, right? So I'm going to change that. What would you tell your 7-year-old daughter? Okay? What would you tell a child, your 6-year-old son, if they came up to you and they said, Mommy, Daddy, my belly is fat? Which is also a whole other discussion that we should probably have for another day of how that's looked as we live in a fat phobic society. So if you're new to this podcast, welcome. There's a lot of stuff you probably didn't learn about and we're uncovering, and it gets real deep, but on the surface level, I will just say, if you had your child come to you, or maybe you're a teacher, your student come to you, and they were talking about how much they hated their body, how much they disliked their body, and how much they wanted to change their body, and how frustrated they were that they're here, they don't like it, they hate it, what would you say to them? And when you think about what you would say to them, talk to yourself that way. I'm going to leave you with this. It's a tweet that I put out about a year ago, and I just kind of reposted it a little bit on my Instagram, and I think it's going to stick with you. And if it does, feel free to take it, quote it, screenshot this episode, share it on your story, and spread this message. All right, so this is it. Hating your body isn't going to change it. Losing weight isn't going to change that you hate it. Appreciating your body and treating it like you do is how you'll learn to love it, whether or not you decide to change it. All right, guys? I'm going to repeat that one more time because it's important, okay? It's really important. Hating your body isn't going to change it. Losing weight isn't going to change that you hate it. Appreciating your body and treating it like you do is how you'll learn to love it, whether or not you decide to change it. All right, guys, that is it for me today. I really hope that this episode resonated with you. If it did, screenshot it, share it on your story, tag me at tips_with_Tony with an I, or the Tips with Tony podcast. If you've not already subscribed to the podcast, definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you feel inclined to rate it and give it a positive review, I would so appreciate it. That's how more and more people will find the podcast, which means this message will get out there and we'll have more body-loving, body-neutral, definitely not body-hating humans in this planet, which means we have the energy and the confidence to do whatever it is that we want in life instead of allowing our bodies to hold us back. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.